Hello, my love. Why don't you pull up a chair and join me at the kitchen table and bring yourself a cuppa as well. Today, I want to chat about something it's been part of my life for years. It's heavy bleeding that carried on right into my 60s. Fibroids, polyps, and eventually the full hysterectomy with salpingo umfrect. I can never get that right. I'm not telling you this because I want sympathy. No, far from it. Honestly, I just wish that someone had sat me down years ago and talked openly about this. So that's what I'm doing now. No fluff, just the truth. This is about periods and growing up. So when I was younger, I didn't even know that my periods were heavy. My mum, she was a sergeant major in World War II, bless her. So, as you can imagine, she was very much of the no pain, no gain era. And she never really talked about periods. It was all hush hush, no details. No, well, this is normal, or this is too much. Nothing like that. All she'd say was, well, if you're not fit for work, you're not fit to go out gallivanting. So I just learned to put up with it. And because of that, I was made in a way to feel embarrassed to even mention anything about it. She didn't talk about periods back in my day. It was very private. It was almost shameful. So, as I said, I just got on with it. Well, flooding through clothes and pain that knocked me sideways. I would just put up with it. I suffered in silence because I thought that's just how it was. Nobody ever asked. Nobody said, oh, do you think that your periods are heavier than anyone else's? It wasn't discussed. So how would I have known? It's just a subject no one talked openly about. It was very hush hush. So the first time I realised, or should I say the first time I found out about the polyp I had, was after a routine smear test. They spotted something unusual, and that's what started the ball rolling. Honestly, even though smear tests can be uncomfortable, always always have one. I know a lot of women dread them. I mean, I did. They're so important. I can't emphasise that enough. They can pick up things that you wouldn't notice. You know, if you didn't have a smear test, then you wouldn't know anything about it. So I do remember thinking, oh well, thank goodness, you know, I'm glad I went. I was nervous to think that I got this polyp because this was the first time anyone had ever flagged up anything with me about periods, etc. So I went to see a consultant and I had the first procedure and the polyp was removed. It was removed then and there, and it was a relief. I must admit it was a relief. But while they carried out investigations, the consultant discovered that there was a mass of fibroids. He said, well, we'll assume that these will shrink because of your age. They will shrink on their own, and then that way we don't need to do anything because we've taken the polyp away and there's no need for anything major. Well, I came out thinking, brilliant, you know, that's sorted, that's a relief. And for a little while, it felt like it was a relief, but honestly, they didn't shrink, they didn't go away. Over time, their fibroids actually trebled in size. Yeah. I didn't realise at first that the bleeding came and went, but it never really stopped, and it should have, especially at the age I was. So 4 years later, I had a second smear test, or should I say another smear test, and again the doctor found another polyp. I thought, oh my goodness, here we go again. But it wasn't just a polyp. They flagged something else up. The doctor said there could be fibroids, or there was a mass, and she was concerned. She wasn't sure what it was, so I was referred to the hospital on a fast track. If it was a polyp, then it was bigger than before. I mean, she didn't hesitate. She was really nice. You know what doctors are like, they try and put your mind at rest, and explained that I would hear something within 2 weeks. So it was a quick referral, and I do believe quick referrals can make a difference. So from there it was a case of having scans, ultrasound, internal checks, and then I had 2 hysteroscopies, which weren't nice. One was to look properly, and the other one was to confirm everything. So after the second one, the consultant said, yeah, this is too big, we're gonna have to take it out. She said it had expanded to 10 centimetres as well as other masses. So of course I was worried, but they assured me that they got my best interests and that they would remove this. I was quite shocked. 10 centimetres. In fact, I'd swollen up that much. They said I looked like a woman who was 5 months pregnant. So, with the persistent bleeding, fibroids trebled in size, so they were being fed, and the polyp was back. They recommended a full hysterectomy, and it was the salpingo oophorectomy, which meant they would take away the uterus, the tubes, the ovaries, everything out once and for all. And yeah, of course I was nervous. I mean, Barry was incredible on the day. Well, he's always incredible even since, but on the day of the surgery, he waited 12 hours in the hospital without any updates. And then when I came around, they kept me in a further 2 days. Well, simple reason was the surgical tape that they'd used to cover the scar, the stitches, it had caused burns to the skin and they'd blistered. Well, that's the last thing that you expect, especially when you're in pain because you've just been operated on. Well, once they thought it was okay, then it was time for me to go home. So now when I was younger, people or women who had hysterectomies were kept in hospital for 6 weeks. Now it's you recover at home, which I think is so much better. You may be uncomfortable and yes, it's painful, and suddenly you feel as if you're on your own. I don't mean you're on your own because you've got your family, but you feel as if you're on your own. Daily it was checking the scar, keeping it clean, resting, but forcing myself to get up and to walk. That was imperative. Having to get up and walk around because you could just seize up. All I wanted to do was rest, but no, with the help of Barry, I was gently up and down the stairs. Well, menopause hit straight away, didn't it? Whoops, just like that. Hot flushes, tiredness, oh, God, everything you can think of, even a foggy brain. And I don't know what I would have done without Barry, and my boys were very concerned as well. We just took it one day at a time. It wasn't easy, but it got better. So I'm reflecting and feeling empowered on what to take away from this a message. So looking back, I wished I'd have known that heavy bleeding isn't just one of those things. No. You don't just shut up with it. If it's ruining your days and you're in so much pain, push for answers. Yeah, and please, don't skip your smear test. They can save lives. Even though they are uncomfortable, they really do catch things early. And that's how my story started. I grew up in a time when periods were really never discussed. It was all hush, hush. My mum's sergeant major attitude, well, that meant that pain was just something that you had to grin and bear. No complaining. And at work in later life, when I'd have to excuse myself in meetings because of severe pains and heavy clotting, heavy flow. Well, I couldn't talk to anyone about it. No, I just felt embarrassed, like it was my fault or something to hide. But here's what I know now. We don't have to suffer in silence anymore. No. We can talk about it. We can ask questions. Yeah, ask questions. We can advocate for ourselves. Of course we can. I did eventually. Yeah. And it changed everything. You know, everything's fine now. Life feels so much lighter now. Before, it wasn't a quality of life. There's no more flooding, no more pain, no more worry. Just no more hiding. So, if you're in the middle of something like this, then trust your body, go with your instincts. You're not weak for speaking up about it, not at all. You're powerful, you're taking your power back, and you're not alone. Remember that, you're not alone, you're never alone. And if this feels familiar to you, heavy periods that you thought were just normal, polyps found on smear tests, fibroids that grew instead of shrinking, to hysteroscopies, hysterectomy, and things like that, then leave a comment and let us know. I read everyone, I do. And thanks for sitting with me today. I mean, if I can help just one person, this conversation is well worthwhile. So look forward to seeing you next time at the kitchen table.